Bokuto, Mishpaka, Shimi, Achazyah Yisrael, Hayat Ethmatasha, Yehuda, Tehila Yahweh, Tehila Yahweh, Ben Yahweh. What's going on, family? What's going down? Today, I want to talk about the ancient tribe of the Adamites. This is not that Adamite class that I'm working on, but this was something that I did when I was studying Genesis chapter 2 a while back. I'm still writing that Adamite class. It's going to be filled with a lot of definitions, but I figured this would be a great expose to get y'all to understand what we are going to be looking at that class. But first, we're going to offer up a praise to our most magnificent Father, Yahweh, and our most mighty, brave King, the mighty God in the flesh as the Son, Yud He Wav He Bet Nun Sofi Yud He Wav He, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, with the Tefillah, which is the Lord Prayer in Hebrew. Praise Yahweh. Tefillah, Avenu, Sabbat Shemayim, Yikadar Shemeakar, Tavo Teakar, Yer Serizokar, King Bashamayim, King Baaretz, Elekim Kanu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Muslak Lanu, Akartienu, Kimotoso King, Gamananu, Lakotain Lanu, Baal Tefienu, Lade Nisayon, Kakasenu, Minara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Begivara, Beteferet, Leolame, Olame, Sila. Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh, being Yahweh. So, when dealing with this class right here, it's going to be pretty short. I'm not going to go through it all right now because I do have to go to work here soon. But I wanted to give you something to ponder about. And that something is the nations have always contemplated against us since Adam. Yes, you have heard me right. Yahweh ben Yahweh said something once in a class. He said, "Men are born wicked, but we are born with the power to choose righteousness." And this class right here verifies exactly what he meant by that. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, it says, "And Yahweh formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Now, when you look up breath in the Hebrew, it tells you that it shares the definition of ruach, and ruach is the spirit. Formed is yasar in Hebrew, yud to sadi, resh, and it means squeezing into shape, right? It means to mold into a form, especially like a potter. When you a parent, you are a potter for your children. You're trying to mold them into a reasonable person. You're trying to squeeze into their mind the very values and principles that you hold near and dear to try to shape them, impress them into a good person. This is the same thing Yahweh did with his child, the Adamites, right? It means to press, in an intransitive means to be narrow. You know what else is narrow? Matthew 7, verse 6 and 7, where Yahweh's talking about the road to heaven. It's the straight and narrow way. So he was teaching the Adamites from birth perfection, right? And we're going to get into that. It means to be narrow. In the figurative sense, to be in distress, to be vexed, strained, meaning the theological, theocratical government and the laws, the standards, the ordinances, the keeping of the garden was stressed in this community of the importance of upkeeping these things in order to have a perfect society. When you look at form from the American Heritage Dictionary, copyright 1982, on page 525, It means the shape and structure of something, as distinguished from its substance. It's the essence of something that's distinguished from its matter. It's the mode in which a thing exists, acts, or manifests itself. It's like a kind of procedure, as determined or governed by regulation or customs, manners or conduct as governed by an etiquette, decorum, or custom. It's what fashions and trains and develops the mind as well as a person by instruction as well as perception. It's to develop one's mind and conceive it into coming into existence of how to act accordingly. The substance is that which has a mass or occupies a space. So we're that substance that's occupying this space on earth, right? And we are being formed and reshaped, being repatterned, our perception being altered, our decorum and our etiquette being raised high above to a sub level to an above level, right? It is the nature and the essence of body, reality, and actuality. See, dealing with nature is the essential characteristics and qualities of a person or thing. It's the very fundamental, which means it's absolutely essential for the character to show forth the disposition of an individual in a theological sense. It is man's natural state that is distinguished from the state of grace. When something is distinguished, it means it separates itself. So man's natural state is different from those who are born or created from a state of grace. The Adamites was born and created from a state of grace because they were chosen to be the children. That's what it says in Luke 3:38, right? I don't want you to think I'm blowing smoke. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I'm trying to lead you somewhere. That's it. I'm just trying to lead you into uh this opening valley called the truth. That too many of us has walked past this trail because you follow the crowd. Luke 3:38. It says, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God Yahweh. Not a son, the son. The Adamites was the son. And you hear me say Adamites. And you probably didn't hear this. You probably never saw this. You probably never even considered this. But when you look at Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 through 3, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Yahweh created man in the likeness, Yahweh made he him, male and female, created he them. That's plural. And called their name Adam. So Adam was male and female. It was a tribe of people. Them is plural. Okay? Right? And blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. We're not going to get into Abel right now because that's a whole nother class. But I'm just showing you something that the Adamites, their character, their natural character was distinguished from the other creations of the other nations. This is why Yahweh gave them dominion over the other nations, right? They were rulers of the planet. And the other nations was created as helpmeet to help sustain the earth, as well as if they did what they were supposed to do, then they were blessed. And if they didn't, then they were cursed. And we can find that in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through 3, real quick. Just run over there, just really fast. I'm bringing us to a point, I promise you. I promise you, and I thank you all for being here. Now the Lord Yahweh has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So this is a restored ability. And I say that again, I'm coming to something here, right? So the essence is the intrinsic or the indispensable properties that serve to characterize or identify something. It is the most important ingredient as well as the crucial element that inherits the unchanging nature of a thing or a class of things as distinguished from its existence. An existing thing, especially a spiritual or incorporeal entity, meaning the men on the earth, the other nations, they cannot change their crucial element, their ingredient. They can't change their characteristics that identify them. Men are naturally wicked. They are naturally deceptive. They are naturally cunning. We see it all over the earth. When if you don't teach a child morality, they'll be a bad child off Jump Street. It just comes natural. You have to teach a child the importance of being good, the importance of listening and following orders, the basic principles or the basic fundamental of don't talk to strangers because stranger danger, right? If a stranger pulls up in a car and offers you candy, you say no and you scream fire and you take off running so that it causes the attention to happen around you and somebody will come and investigate, right? These things you have to teach a child, it's like the very littlest things, right? Because if you don't, then they'll grow up just doing whatever they want to do, and usually whatever they want to do will lead them into trouble, right? So we're almost coming to it. Now, the synonyms are behavior, formality, laws, manners, fashion, practice, precepts, propriety, rites and rituals, protocols, conduct, type, character, guise, order, system, rank, plan, placement, completion, perfection, cultivation, instruction, and then school. So all of this happens to be dealing with constructing a community that follows a certain guidelines, as well as a teaching of the history of these guidelines, of these ordinances, of these laws, the importance, what happens if you break them, what happens if you keep them, what happens if you keep half of them and you break some of them, right? These things were taught. And it was the formality, which is the condition or the quality of being formal, of accordance with required or traditional rules or procedures of the conventional ability. Now, the conventional is the conforming or adhering to the accepted standards as of conduct or taste, rigorously methodical character. Rigorously is in a way that is severely exacting, accurate, careful, and thorough to a high standard. The law is the principles and regulations established in the community by some authority, which is Yahweh, and the applicable to its people, means it means to be applied daily, right, to the people, rather in the form of a legislation or of a custom, policies, which is then recognized and enforced by judicial decision, a divinely appointed order or system, a commandment or revelation from Yahweh, meaning the Adamites had a job of maintaining the community at that time of different nations by teaching them the law, instructing the law, having legislative court systems for those who broke it. Proof. I'm glad you say you want proof. I'm glad you said it. We're going to look at Genesis. Everything is in Genesis. I'm trying to tell you. Genesis chapter 3, verse 11 through 17. Right? This was the court system that this was the first time the court system was documented, and with accusing, finding evidence, and then conducting the ruling right here. And it starts with when Yahweh came back to check upon his creation in the community which he set forth his sons to lead the way in. And this is what he found. Verse 11 says, And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord Yahweh said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, Well, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahweh said unto the serpent, This is the first ruling of this court. Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon the belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of his life. Now we know that this is not talking about a physical snake. Snakes don't talk, and a snake reptile has always crawled on his belly. But this is a snake is a person who is a backstabber, who's a deceiver, right? Who's a murder, they have murderous intentions. And the dust that he is to be eating is filth. He'll never be a moral, righteous person. Once a backbiter, always a backbiter. They're a snake, right? And it says, Upon the belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. That means, again, this shows that the first law that was broken before the philosophy was being spread in the community was adultery. She slept with Lucifer and birthed Cain. Cain was not and was never a son of Adam. We just read the genealogy in Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 through 3. It says the son of Adam was Seth, not Cain. Seth. Cain was not mentioned to be an offspring of Adam. So the first sin in the Bible was the adultery of philosophy, the mind, and then he got her behind. That's what happened. And when that crumbling system, when that was shown in the community, the other nations responded swiftly because this happened in chapter 3. By chapter 6, the flood was getting ready to happen. Why? Because every imagination was evil continually. That means when the court system ruling happened and Adam lost his rulership, being kicked out of the garden, right? And all the nations spreading out and starting to, rule over themselves, what happened? The flood immediately happened in chapter 6 and 7 because man thought evil continually. So that means they always had those thoughts. But when Adam was ruling, they couldn't perform those thoughts of fear of court. But when they seen the ones who held the court be in court. All right, sorry about that. Hopefully y'all can still hear that. Hey, what's going on, family? I'm gonna wrap it up here. You know, sorry about that, y'all. Alarm went off. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. So that means when they seen the power structure change and the ones who held the power and kept the community, right, under an established authority by legislation and customs and policy, when they seen that the one who was the head become one without power to no longer establish these laws, these policies, and enforce them, then that's when man's thoughts became evil continually, and their actions showed forth that. Because literally, Genesis chapter 5, we're learning about the genealogy of Adam. Genesis chapter 6 is talking about the wickedness of mankind in the flood. So it wasn't a far gap before this one first event happened, which immediately brought the end of their world soon after. So just stating something that you probably looked over, you probably never even considered. And if you did, you probably didn't even want to explain it. I explained it for you. If you haven't considered it, then I'm glad that we can have this conversation. with this morning word. I really do appreciate everyone who came. Um, Again, this Adamite class that I'm working on is going to be impactful with a lot of definitions, of course, with explanation, as well as going in with scriptures to prove a point. Again, so the first sin that was broken was philosophy, the adultery of philosophy, changing philosophy. And then it was the physical adultery, where she started to sleep with with Lucifer. She birthed Cain because again, through the genealogy of both Luke 3:38 as well as Genesis chapter 5 verse 3, it said that Seth was the son of Adam, not Cain. And then when you look at, for instance, to prove this point even further, before I go ahead and get up off here, let's go to Second John. All right, let's go to Second John real quick. James, Peter, Second Peter. All right. First John chapter 3, verse 12. It says, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one. So when you look at wicked one in the Bible concordance, it tells you Satan. So again, that just proves that Cain was the seed of Eve and Satan or Lucifer. And that's why it said that he would put enmity between thy seed and her seed, right? So, with that being stated, I hope y'all have a wonderful morning. Stay blessed, stay studying. Um, I pray that you all be safe out here. And just remember, I love you. Your Ak signing out. Praise Yahweh.